The God of the Bible, which is actually not the God of the universe, is a entity, actually several entities, to be honest with you, because it's more than one God in the Bible. They use the word God singular, but that's a mistranslation. It's actually gods with an S. They slip up a couple times and say gods in the Bible with an S, but when they're trying to identify the monotheistic version of God, they always take the S off. When in true reality, when the ancient text, you find that the S was there.
What Billy Carson refers to is the use of the term Elohim in the Bible. Elohim is a Hebrew word that, while often translated as God, is actually plural, meaning gods. This raises the possibility that ancient texts may not have been referring to a singular deity, but rather multiple divine beings or entities. Interestingly, older Sumerian tablets tell a similar story, but explicitly mention multiple entities involved in creation. But does it mean that there is no God at all? Let's find out what Billy says about that.
There is a creator of the universe. There is a divine love that exists, that permeates the entire universe. But the one written about in that book is not it. So at least you can have solace in knowing that there is a creator. There is a divine energy that flows through everything and every atom in the entire universe. That's based on science. We are living in a creation that's based on real science. What I'm telling you is, in that book, that's not the one who did it. That's not the one who did it. Not even close. Even they said themselves, and I do mean they, that the creator of all will punish them for what they did here on this planet. That's in the Sumerian tablets. They said the creator of all will punish them for what they did. They even know they have a reckoning in themselves. They never called God a him or a he. Won't he do it? They never said him or he. They called it the creator of all. And where else does that show up? In the Emerald Tablets. Thoth never called himself a god. He never told people to pray to him. He's one of the very few that did not masquerade as a god, although he could have. When he left the different regions of the earth, the people there who were left behind eventually deified him, because that's what people do. We do dumb stuff. We start saying this guy was God. No, he wasn't. As a matter of fact, there's a verse here where people start groveling at his feet. And he says, whoa, wait a minute. Calm down. I'm a son of Atlantis. I'm here to help you. He didn't say, yes, grovel at my feet. I am your Lord God. You pray to me. You blah, 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 blah. He didn't do that. Now, some of these people, his relatives, his uncle did that. His uncle made people pray to him. His cousin made people pray to him. His brother, Amun-Ra, made people say amen after every prayer. And they were at odds. Him and his brother were at odds with each other. They always fought. They had battles. And Thoth-Me, also known as Ea-Enki, said, Thoth, you go to the other side of the planet, man. Start something over there. And Thoth took some African Olmecs with him to Mesoamerica and kickstarted the whole Teotihuacan civilization. What does Teotihuacan mean? Translate to the city of Thoth. That's why the pyramid there, the pyramid of the sun, is the same exact dimensions of the base of the Great Pyramid at Giza. The alignment is the same alignment with Orion at the Great Pyramid and the other two pyramids that are sitting there on the Giza Plateau. Both pyramids are built on top of aquifers, and the Pyramid of the Sun, which is the larger pyramid at Teotihuacan, is exactly 50% the height of the pyramid at Giza, the Great Pyramid at Giza. It's the same architect, same exact architect. His name is Thoth. He went there with Africans from Africa and built the Teotihuacan civilization. They extended all throughout Mesoamerica, all down into Tulum, down in through the jungle, into the Yucatan Peninsula, down into Chichen Itza. All of that was built. The Mayans built nothing. And they admit they built nothing in their own records. They will teach you this when you go study archaeology and ancient civilizations in college. The Mayans built absolutely nothing. They had no knowledge. They inherited what was already there. The Aztecs, who came a couple hundred years after the Mayans, also inherited what was there. The Aztecs were in another part of Mesoamerica where they were living in a valley. That valley had a volcanic eruption. The mountain behind them was a volcano. It was active. It erupted. It destroyed everything. Some of them died. They had to go find a new place to live. As they journeyed through the jungle, they stumbled upon Teotihuacan. And guess what? They moved right on in. Again, they built nothing. They built nothing. It was already there. Up until certain parts of the dynastic, like the later dynastic era of Egypt, they built nothing. Now, some of the parts like Karnak and Luxor, which are a lot newer, yes, they had their hand in that. Clearly, you can see not super megalithic structures. Clearly, you can see blocks cut and then stacked on top of each other in different ways. Some of the knowledge had been lost. The super ancient, super megalithic structures that were built were coming out of Kemet long before the dynastic era even happened. So we're talking about a super ancient culture and a super ancient race of people that encompassed the whole planet. They went around the entire planet, pole to pole, creating and building civilizations everywhere with megalithic structures that were very similar in style and size. And over time, their knowledge had become lost. And whoever was around moved in and inherited what was already there. All right? That's how it got there.
What Billy Carson highlights here is the lost history and the new discoveries proving that an advanced global civilization once existed on Earth. The knowledge they left behind has been hidden, altered, and used to manipulate the masses for centuries. As we uncover these truths, we begin to see how much of what we've been taught has been distorted. But where does that leave us in our search for the real creator, the true source of divine energy? Let's find out as Billy explains how to find the real God.
Become your own person. Become your own researcher. Start asking questions. Ask yourself questions. Look at information that contradicts itself and start trying to figure out why is it contradicting, and then use some basic logic and you'll figure out what's being told to you is not exactly what happened. What's being taught to you to believe in wholeheartedly for eternity is not even coming from the word of the creator of the universe itself. It's coming from human beings, from men. Actual flesh and blood men that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you. All you need to know is this, and I'm gonna end. The divine spark that created everything in the entire universe is inside of every atom in your body. Meaning that you are God and God is you. You are the divine walking in the flesh already to experience life like it is in the third dimension as you.
There are still many hidden truths waiting to be revealed. If the Old Testament was copied and altered from ancient texts to control the masses, could the same manipulation have occurred in more recent history, shaping our understanding of reality? The undeniable wisdom found in these ancient scripts was meant to guide humanity. And one of the most profound truths given to us was the teachings of Jesus. But over time, these teachings were intentionally changed by those seeking power.
In the archives at the Vatican, they have in there so many incredible discoveries, so much knowledge and wisdom that have been stolen, literally stolen from all around the world. And of course, the Library of Alexandria, that was a book heist. The fire was a distraction. There was a knowledge theft. They stole the knowledge. They left a few books burning here and then they burned it down to the ground. But the vast majority of the knowledge and wisdom stored at Alexandria was siphoned off and taken to that underground, I call it an underground base at the Vatican. Down there also, according to even some Jesuits, are bones of actual alien beings, information about advanced beings that visited this planet, the Anunnaki, according to the Dogon, the Nomo, and the Sumerians call them the Pantheon, call them the Anunnaki Pantheon out of Sumeria. They call the Nitiru out of Africa. They have all these relics and artifacts of these particular people, even out of Greece. They have all this down there. They have information even out of Iraq that shows and proves that advanced races had lived on this planet long before this current civilization here exists. I'm talking about eons and eons ago, super highly advanced with technologies and capabilities of flight and everything else, weapons of war that existed. All that information is stored underneath the Vatican archives, along with some of the most incredible texts and books and inventions that ever existed on this planet. And they siphon it away, and they're hoarding all of that wisdom and knowledge so that they can keep control and power and domination over the world. And guess what? It's working. You know, if the public knew that long before Jesus and all these people that thousands of years before them, an advanced race lived on this planet, built an Atlantean global civilization, probably Atlantean interplanetary civilization that had capability of space flight and everything else, and that they most likely genetically modified the existing hominids, which then became Homo sapiens sapien, in order to put us all in slavery and make us do the workload for them. If they knew that, those stories and those tales from the Sumerian tablets, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas, Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of Going Forth by Day, aka the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation, all these texts predominantly made up the majority of the Bible. We would be like, well, what are you guys preaching to us? This is all fake. This is all lies. And we know that in the Emerald Tablets, you know, which is a book compendium of the Emerald Tablets, that the majority of Jesus' teachings in the New Testament come directly from the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which are 38,000-year-old teachings. So they must control and hide and secure evidence of this information and this knowledge to keep people basically in this level of ignorance where they can continue to control them and steal their money. They added to the story. They took from a lot of ancient texts and tablets, and then they kind of curated this book, which they want to call it a canonized Bible, right? So they took from there this tablet, this scripture, that papyrus, this Nag Hammadi piece. We like this coming out of this text over here. And then they kind of just culminated together and then remixed it, put their own spin on it, and make sure that slavery was approved and okay. And then so you had that. And then, of course, we want to collect a lot of money. So they have to pay us. We got to make sure we got the money. You got to pay, you know what I'm saying? And you got to do the labor, and you got to bring the offerings, because we ourselves are not going to go out and hunt and grow farms and everything else. So you guys, you're going to have to bring these offerings to us and bring us your first harvest, because we want the freshest fruit and the freshest vegetables. We don't want the stale stuff. And so people would come down and bring everything to the church and give it all away, along with whatever money they had left. And these people would live like fat cats, literally off of pimping the knowledge and understanding of what's going on and tricking people into believing that they had some access to divine power and knowledge, when the ignorance of the people, you know, you almost can't blame them, but yet at the same time, it's like, how can so many masses of people stand up and fall for this? But it happens. But also, you got to remember the way that they went around, the way that the Council of Nicaea put this in place with Rome. And Rome said, we're now going to dominate the planet with this religion. So they combined their beliefs with the Christianity, all right, because they felt like keeping it separate was creating too much anger between the two sides, and everybody wanted to go head to head. So, you know what, we're going to combine it. We'll add our stuff in with their stuff, and we'll make it a national religion. But now, here's the trick. As Rome was on its global escapade trying to dominate and take over the planet, everywhere they went, they would then install this Christianity, this Catholic Christianity in those areas. But this is how they did it. People believed that Christianity was spread by love and the good news, and no, it was spread by rape, bloodshed, murdering, and killing. They literally would take your women and your children. They would take the leader of that village or whatever. They would show, like, you guys are going to bow down to us. You're going to follow this religion. You're going to speak our language. And they'll make an example out of somebody, and then everybody else would follow suit. And if they didn't, then they would say, okay, we're going to give you a lot of these torture devices. They would have the Pope's spear, all right, which is still in the museums right now. They would have this triangular pyramid with a spire on top, and they would reel a man up and down and let it go up into his back door over and over again until he died. And then all these torture mechanisms, they tortured and killed over 80 million people over the course of 700 years under the order of the popes, in order to spread love and peace and Christianity, all with the authority of Rome. So this global conquest to spread this and collect money was all done by bloodshed and torture, not by love and peace. Even the depiction of Jesus switched over to the face that became the global popular face. That was actually Caesar Borgia, who was actually one of the sons of an actual pope, and killed his own brother to try to take his place. This guy was just an evil, brutal, killing ruler. His father commissioned the artist to paint his image as the image of Jesus, and that image still propagates the planet till this very day. And so, but again, Jesus, the J is a new letter. It didn't even exist until recently. I mean, so we're talking about, okay, what is really the name? Isus. When you look into the root word of that, and you go back into some of the ancient tongues, you find out it's Hail Zeus. So people that are calling on the name of Jesus all the time, they're calling for help from Zeus, which is actually converted name from the Sumerian pantheon. So they're calling on Enlil. They're not calling on any son of the creator of the universe. And this is why a lot of prayers don't actually work. We have this gene in us, this worship gene, which was inserted into the human genome. We know this now because scientists have actually found the worship gene. You can turn it on and they can turn it actually off. And so it makes us want to worship something outside of ourselves, when in true reality, we should find the power inside. And this was inserted by the Anunnaki. That's my hypothesis. But this gene has been found, but it's happened around 200,000 years ago. Now, something else happened around that same time. Chromosome number 2 in the human body was pulled out, fused together, and then 2 telomere caps are put on each end. Telomere caps have our genetic material that allow our cells to replicate. It has the biological buffer material in it. Now, when the buffer material runs out, that's when your body starts the death process. Now, around 200,000 years ago is when the tablets say this occurred at the Tower of Babel incident, which made it into the modern day Bible. The Tower of Babel incident, where in the Bible is Yahweh comes back and he sees the people building a tower into the heavens, and he gets pissed off and he destroys the tower. And he said, that's it. Man's years will be 120. They'll never live more than that. And I'm going to confuse their languages and separate them and spread them out all over the planet so they can't talk to each other. But in the Sumerian tablets, it was actually Enlil, who's Yahweh in the Bible. He comes back and sees this and he goes, oh man, these people are getting too smart. They're going to realize they don't need us to rule over them. So he confused their language, broke everybody up, made different languages. There's only one language at the time. Then the years shall be 120, shortened the lifespan. Before then, people were living for hundreds of years. Now the maximum lifespan that they found out at Harvard that a human being could live on average would be 120 if it wasn't for the poison and everything else going on, toxicity in the foods and the atmosphere. And they discovered they started experimenting with mice, and they were able to stop the degradation of the telomeres and got the mice to live 3 times their normal lifespan. All this information would be mind-blowing information to come out if this truth was really told about our ancient past and what really happened. People would realize we've been altered, genetically modified. Our lifespans have been shortened so that we can be subjugated and ruled over. We never lived long enough to really figure out what's going on. But by the time we figure it out, we're gone and another generation starts over from zero again. And so we're at this precipice now. We need to be able to pass this information on from generation to generation and teach them the real, true ancient history so that we can break this cycle that we're in of this being a boot on our neck and being ruled over by a small handful of people. Less than 100 people on this planet control 8 billion people. Less than 100 people run the lives of 8 billion people worldwide. They know what you smell, eat, taste, touch, hear, think. And they control everything you do, where you can go, where you can't go. And so for us to take back control of this planet, we need to know this ancient information. We need to know what happened in the past so we can make a better future, because the past is prologue. We can't take control of this planet until that happens. And so to answer your question is this: once people understand this fundamentally, the true reality is we'll take back control of our planet. These beings, they don't land and walk around. They're waiting for us to grow up. I think that the ones that had subjugated us have been long gone after the last pyramid war that happened about 5,000 years ago. And the ones that are looking at us now, that we see these UFOs, UAPs flying around, not all of them are there, some are ours. But the ones that are from other places, they're watching us and they're looking and they're saying, you know what? They're still crawling. They're not ready for us yet. When they learn how to walk, when these 8 billion people take back control of their planet and stop allowing less than 100 people to put a boot on their neck and divide them and all these divide and conquer tactics, they don't love one another. They don't respect one another. They don't respect even themselves. When they grow up past that level, they will show up. Because back in the ancient times, they would show up. People were the IQ wasn't there yet. We were just hunter-gatherers living around, and we didn't have a weapon to fire back at them. Now, somebody shows up. Everybody wants to try to take it out of the sky. We want to get this technology. We want to co-opt it. We want to reverse engineer it. We want to weaponize it. They look at our planet and they go, okay, they know how to split the atom. Interesting. Oh, they've got weapons. Let me check out the codes on these weapons. We know this because UFOs have showed up at military bases and deactivated nukes in broad daylight, as testified before Congress by actual military officers and nuclear physicists. But they say, okay, well, they've got all these nukes aimed at their own planet while they're still on the planet with no escape hatch.
So they're saying, we're going to just keep looking. We have to just monitor and look at the situation and just keep seeing how long will it be before they wake up. That's what I think is happening. And it looks like a prime directive, as if they have some type of a base law that we don't understand or know about, where they're not fully engaging us in a way that, like you're talking about. When we went to Bikini Atoll in the late 40s, early 50s, and started testing weapons, nuclear weapons, we took all those islanders and we moved them. And these people had never seen airplanes or other people before. Forget seeing airplanes. They'd never seen anybody but themselves, right? And all of a sudden, they created a cargo cult. They took reeds and sticks out of the bushes and created airplanes out of them. And they worshiped the planes. They tattooed USA on their chest. You got black guys walking around in the bush with USA painted on their chest. They make fake guns out of sticks that look like, AK-47s and so forth, or automatic weapons. And then they sit down on these man-made runways that they've dug out, and they look at the sky for hours, waiting for the sky gods to bring them back more cans of Spam.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next one.
Virtually all religions either worship aliens or believe in aliens and don't even know it. The problem with people that are into religion is they think they're spiritual because they haven't understood that religion and spirituality are two totally different things. Religion and politics is a deadly combination because it's all about complete ultimate manipulation. There's a black pope. I don't mean a black man. It's a pope that wears a black outfit. The black pope controls everything from behind the scenes. All over the world, religion has used forced conversion tactics to bring different religions to different regions of the planet. I have been talking about different religions from various times and breaking them down and basically, showing you where they have a lot of holes in their theories and how their dogma literally affects human beings from the time you're born all the way until the time you die. Now, we don't have a lot of people don't have the capability of discerning what is real within that religious text and what is actually fake. And I've gone through over 1,000 scriptures, cylinder scrolls, papyruses, cuneiform tablets. I've gone to indigenous countries. I've gone and walked amongst the people. I've talked to the sages and the elders. I've touched hieroglyphs. I've been everywhere. And what I found is that when religion grabs a hold of someone, it literally takes them almost forever and sometimes never to be able to understand there's a much bigger picture and that they've been trapped into a system that has kind of put them into a box. And I really want people to be able to understand that in order for human beings to get to the next level, we have to break out of this box. I believe in a creator, and I've said this 1,000 times on 1,000 interviews. Why do I believe in a creator? Because the mathematics, the quantum physics already proves that there's a creator of this realm, that an entity or possibly entities outside of this universe, they're not inside here with us, created this realm. We're living in a fractal holographic matrix. It doesn't mean that we're not real, but it means that the divine spark that created this software, this program code that we're operating and we're fully immersed in is made of light. We're living inside of a light matrix. So in essence, yeah, the Bible's correct. We're living in a creation. The fractal holography is the description of the type of matrix that was created and how it was created. The Bible doesn't say what type of matrix, it just says the word. Now, the word is sound, that's frequency. So we know frequency had a lot to do with collapsing this wave into existence in this third dimension. I just wanted to give you kind of a synopsis why I decided to do this. I want people to wake up and understand that we have to teach our next generation to do better when it comes to religion. Unfortunately, when you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you spend the rest of your life defending a false identity. This is the case. This is the nature of the world today. We're given a religion as soon as we come out of the womb. We're given a religion before we even come out of the womb. People are already praying over over the mother's belly and praises and prayers and this and that. And whatever those prayers are for, whatever religion they belong to, That's now encoding into your cells through cymatic frequencies. And even though there's a lot of falsehoods in the teaching and a lot of contradictory information in the teaching and a lot of information left out in the teachings by accident on purpose, it's never really looked into in depth, and it's just continued to pass on for thousands of years. And it's one of the biggest things holding mankind back. One thing you have to understand is most religions on this planet, they're worshiping aliens. If somebody is in a religion, I don't care what religion it is, we'll talk about the names of these religions in a second. And you say to them, hey man, you know, you're worshiping an alien. Like, oh, I'm not worshiping. What are you talking about worshiping an alien? Well, where's your God from? Is your God an earthling? Is it a human? No, my God ain't human. Well, was he from Earth, or she from Earth, or is it from Earth? No, it's an alien. The definition of alien, look it up in the Webster's dictionary. If I'm claiming to be your God and I'm not from your planet, I wasn't born out of a womb of a woman to walk around in flesh and so forth and so on, and I claim that I'm not from here. Even Jesus, who came out of a womb, says, I'm not of this world. Well, then you're an alien. We have this thing called the Force. And the Force, it's imbued into every single atom and every single person's body and everything that exists throughout the entire universe. It's the divine spark, divine energy. The same divine spark that created everything that we know to be in the entire known universe is inside of your body as well. And this energetic force exists at every Planck unit in space-time all around you. We're fully immersed in it. And it gives you have access to it. You can tap into that source power. Not only is it in your body, but you're breathing it. It's prana. You're walking in it. You're swimming in it. You're flying in it. You're driving in it. It's everywhere. You can't escape it. It's in everything. It's everywhere at all times. It's everywhere at every Planck unit in space-time. And now the ancient mystery schools would teach, thousands of years ago to adept initiates. That's how you got in. You had to be an adept initiate. You weren't just allowed to walk into a class. You had to be handpicked. You were taught how to use this energy, this source energy, this power for the power of light to bring peace and balance to the universe. Now, this is an actual ancient Kemetic teaching. The ancient Kemet people, they had people called the Jedi, D-J-E-D-I, Jedi. They were Jedi Knights. The Jedi were on the light side, but they were the Dark Brothers, according to Thoth, the ruler of the land of Kim for 14,000 years, according to the ancient pre-dynastic Egyptians. They were the Dark Brothers, and Star Wars called it the dark side. So you see George Lucas, wise man. He went to ancient texts and tablets, did his research, and created a whole multi-billion-dollar movie series out of true stories. After the Second Pyramid War, about 5,000 years or close to 5,000 years ago, a lot of these beings that were teaching these ancient mysteries and teaching mankind and building these cities all over the world, they started to leave the planet little by little. And Earth became an abandoned seed colony. Abandoned. We just left here like little children on this planet, trying to feel our way through the darkness and figure out what to do next, right? And a lot of these ancient mystery schools were still in action, from some of the wisdom that had been passed down, and it passed down and passed down. Eventually, some of these mystery schools realized, this information is so powerful, I can actually utilize it to manipulate people. I can actually utilize this to control people. I can actually utilize this to dominate people. And so they began to understand how to use the Force for the dark side. These are the Dark Brothers. And so these people come from a line of knowledge and wisdom that started off positive and upright and amazing, and only enforced lightness and balance and truth and life throughout the universe. They took it and they remixed it, understanding how to utilize and access and tap into that source power, understanding the power of vocalization, understanding the power of programming. They began to utilize it for darkness, for their own internal greedy, selfish, power-hungry needs. And that's how the dark side separated from the light side. When it started out as light, the darkness followed. And today we are predominantly, these secret societies predominantly are all about the dark side. These are the dark brothers that Thoth warned us about, that are walking amongst men, basically disguised as men, but really walking like men, but unlike men, hiding in the shadows behind the scenes, pulling strings of the puppets. They're the puppeteers, and creating the reality that they want on this planet for the purposes of power and control. Virtually all religions either worship aliens or believe in aliens and don't even know it. Let's have a look at the definition of alien. I told you earlier, an entity from outer space, for example, someone that's not from here. But let's look at this. Christianity, 2.1 billion people worship Jesus. John 8:23. And he said unto them, you are from beneath and I am from above. You are of this world and I am not of this world. That means not from earth, AKA alien. I'm talking about an entity that claims to have been, or people claim that he was of virgin birth. What's interesting is when you look into the Apocrypha text, you discover that his grandmother, Mary's mother, was also a virgin birth. Wait a minute, you didn't know about that, did you? What is all this virgin birth going on? Well, that's artificial insemination. In some way, I personally believe that Yeshua, not Jesus, because Jesus is a fake name, that means Hail Zeus, but Yeshua is an artificial insemination into the womb of Mary for the purpose of a new type of genetic experiment. And that's what I really believe, that he's probably half human, half Anunnaki, most likely what we would call a demigod, and was able to come through a womb, grow, and have retention of knowledge and wisdom from his ancestry, from his bloodline. I don't believe that Yeshua was in any way sacrificed or killed on any cross, because there are many, many texts that contradict what the mainstream canonized Bible talks about, and where it says that he was crucified on a cross and whipped to death and hung, he hung there until he died and blah, blah, blah. No. If you look at the Sinai Bible, which predates the King James Version of the Bible, there is no crucifixion at all. Never happened. Matter of fact, he goes on to live a life. And in Harvard Seminary, they just discovered a few years ago the book of Jesus's wife. So he got married, most likely had children, and that would be the Merovingian bloodline that still is walking the planet till this very day, covertly behind the scenes. Islam, 1.3 billion believe that the Prophet Muhammad was meditating in a cave of Hira by himself when the angel Gabriel, who's supposedly not from earth, descended, which means he came down from above. He wouldn't walk up to him. He came down from above and told him to recite the Iqra, the words of God, even though the Prophet Muhammad was illiterate at the time. So Muhammad had to go get another person that knew how to write. And so here's this alien coming down to this dude. He's telling him, hey, I need you to write this stuff down. This guy goes, man, I'm illiterate. I don't know how to read and write. Well, go find somebody then. So then he goes and finds somebody that can write. And then you got this alien talking to Muhammad, and then Muhammad's telling this other guy, write this down. And so it's this process of you tell me and I'll tell him. You tell me and I'll tell him. And that's how they wrote the Quran. Hinduism, 851 million Hindus hold that the cosmos is populated by numerous deities and spiritual beings, gods and goddesses or devas, who actually influence the world and who interact with humans. Again, not from this earth. Aliens. They can't escape it. You can't see, when you lay the facts down before people, there's no way to escape it. There's no way to run away from it. There's no way to hide from it. You can't deny these statements. You're dealing with aliens. They're worshiping aliens. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it's aliens. These people are afraid of aliens, but they worship aliens. Buddhism, 375 million. Okay. They have certain branches of larger Buddhist tradition, including the Mahayana, include a variety of gods and goddesses who are also not from earth. Buddhism is a great religion. It's got a lot of great spiritual teachings in there. For the most part, it's non-violent. But again, it's aliens. Mormons, 13.5 million. The angel Moroni, who's not from Earth, he descended from heaven. In Mormonism, an angel visited Joseph Smith on numerous occasions, beginning on September 21st, 1823. This is New Age religion stuff. According to Smith, the angel was the guardian of the golden plates, which the Latter-day Saints believe were the source material for the Book of Mormon, which was buried in a hill near Smith's home in western New York. Again, so now you have another alien that comes down, talks to a guy, say, hey man, dig up these tablets right quick. There's some information on these that you need to start a whole movement with. And that's exactly what he did. So another group of people worshiping an alien, praising an alien, getting their information from an alien. And I do mean alien, somebody who came from another place, not from Earth. This angel, according to the Mormons, was not born on Earth, didn't come out of a woman's womb. There's no hospital record that you can go find where it was born and grew up as a person. Came from space. Alien. So for everyone who's said, I just want to be able to talk to people and tell them like, hey, the people that you're praying to are aliens. Well, let them watch this show. This is indisputable information. They can't dispute this. They can't wish this away. The only thing they can do is get angry at you and run. There's nothing that you can do to say this is not accurate. There's not one thing. The only thing they can do is fabricate additional information or get angry. That's the only two things they can do. Probably do both. Okay. So religion, it reinforces and promotes social inequality and social conflict. It helps convince the poor to accept their lot in life. Accept your current conditions. And it leads to hostility and violence motivated by religious differences. This perspective focuses on the way in which individuals interpret their religious experiences. What we're talking about here is violence motivated by religious differences. We'll talk a little bit about Islam in this video today and what they did to the Egyptians very shortly. But it promotes social conflict, difference, bullying, discrimination, inequality, harassment, exclusion, sexism, stereotypes, racism. This is what comes out of religion. Spirituality doesn't even understand those concepts. It doesn't even understand those precincts. It doesn't even understand those words. Those words can't even come out of a spiritual person's mouth. The problem with people that are into religion is they think they're spiritual because they haven't understood that religion and spirituality are two totally different things. If you're religious, you're religious. If you're spiritual, you're spiritual. Spirituality and religious, they just don't go together. You just can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You just can't. Either it's dogma or it's freedom. That's it. Those are your only two choices. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The problem with religion is it creates a division and a divide. It creates a divide and conquer that has persisted for thousands of years. This is why the aliens don't talk to us. You go to church, they don't like what you got on. This ain't good in the eyes of God, right? And all they do is gossip. All they do is talk crap about you. You go to a Kingdom Hall, which is the Jehovah's Witness. They ask you all kind of crazy, intimidating questions. If they find out that you kissed a girl, you can be excommunicated from the Kingdom Hall. If they find out that you are interested in going to college, you could be excommunicated. You don't need college. The brothers at the church will teach you everything you need to know. If you tell them that you don't need to go through the brothers because you have a direct connection with God, you'll be excommunicated. It's craziness. It creates bullying, sexism. Women just got the ability to stand up and say something in church. That just happened. Women have been oppressed at every turn you can think of when it comes to religion. They couldn't walk into the synagogue. They couldn't walk into the temple. They couldn't walk into the church. They couldn't stand up. They couldn't say anything. And we just finally got to the point now where you can actually have a female pastor. right? Women couldn't even vote for the longest. They were just considered just as like a black person almost. So, and if you were a black woman, you were a double minority. You were doubly oppressed. So it's pretty interesting. But again, religion. And, talking about how African Americans or black people got into Christianity is a whole nother podcast. And then it just became, listen, if you don't follow this, you're going to be whipped and beat. So now the next generation comes out, they're born into it, and the next generation is born into it. And the next thing you know, they take it and run with it. By third, fourth generation, hey man, this is all we know. It's an ingenious neuroscientific programming code that they were able to insert into different civilizations of people and force them to become subjugated to religious systems. Okay. It creates a lot of favoritism. I'm in the elite group of the 144,000, according to Jehovah's Witness. I'm going to go to paradise and you're not. Or Christianity, everyone who hasn't given up, Jesus, who hasn't admitted that Jesus Christ is their Lord and personal Lord and Savior, well, they're just infidels and they're going to be subjugated to a lake of fire and they're not going to make it to heaven. But I'm good because this is all, this is ridiculous. It attacks gender. Ethical values of each religion can play a major role in politics. As a member of any religious community, people should feel that people should express their political needs. The political leaders should regulate the practice of religion so that there is no discrimination and oppression. That's just my personal belief, that there should be some type of regulation. You're not going to be able to eliminate religion right now. That's just the way the world is, okay? But, however, we have a situation here where because of your religion and because of how much money your religious sect has to offer, they can actually be put themselves in a situation to lobby laws and rights and things into existence that another group can't do, or get more favor here than another religious group. And so there's a certain level of discrimination based on financial power when it comes to politics and religion. Also, that the United States, for example, I can only talk about the United States in this case, they primarily base politics off of Christianity, although the majority of those people have never even read a Bible. It's in God we trust, God bless America, and all this kind of stuff, right? However, they don't have Christian values, the majority of these people. They just play the game. I remember when Obama was elected as a president, Obama wasn't a Christian. He didn't even put his hand on the Christian Bible to get sworn in. You don't have to put your hand on the Bible to get sworn in case you didn't know. It's not required. And so he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he doesn't believe in the Bible. So the majority of people that voted for Obama because he was black were Christians, black Christians. They came out in droves. Praise God, praise Jesus, we got a black president. Meanwhile, the same guy they praising this Yeshua to and all this other kind of foolishness and running out there to these voting box, they praising a guy who don't believe in any of their Christian values at all. None of them. Believes in none of them. Matter of fact, the religion he believes in slaughtered millions of Christians. The Coptic Christians of Egypt, which we're going to talk about. Pretty interesting, huh? You see? Religion and politics is a deadly combination because it's all about complete ultimate manipulation. And because the dogma runs so deep in people, the politicians utilize that to control you and dominate you at every single turn when they literally can care less about that Bible. They can care less about what's in that book. These people don't even know anything about spirituality, religious systems, or nothing. They just know how to utilize certain phrases and words to control you and to make you pledge allegiance to a piece of material, which they call a flag. I never pledged allegiance to no flag. Not one time did I ever say I pledge allegiance to the flag. The first time I heard that, I was like, what are they talking about? A flag? No, I'm not. I don't do that. I remember I almost got suspended from school. It was in Norland Junior High School in Miami, Norland, area in Florida, Miami. The city was called Norwood. And they called my mom and said I was inciting a riot. I'm like, look, man, I'm not pledging no allegiance to a piece of material that has, to me, zero value. Now, you want me to pledge allegiance to humanity? I'll do that. To people, I'll do that. Religion and politics. They prey on the religious people because the religious people who are sold completely into religion and become fanatics for religion, the easiest people to manipulate. I mean, I can ring you left, I can ring you right, I can make you do whatever I want to do. It's so easy to manipulate you because the dogma gives me control over your every thought. It gives me control over every atom in your body. I have complete domination and control over everything you do, hear, see, taste, touch, smell, feel. I know I can control everything I want you to see, what I don't want you to see. And you'll be happy as a pig in slop because you'll say, it's the Lord's will. They got you coming and going. They got you coming and going, and they sit back and they laugh. I've been around people that are in that at a high level. They just sit back. I infiltrate people. I infiltrate little groups because I got the financial means to walk indoors where a lot of people, they'll never be able to open a door, never going to get invited to see anything. I walk indoors. I have the financial means. I have the paperwork. And I sit back and I go, this is the game. This is the pimp game. This is the ultimate pimp game. I use a different word, but I don't want to say that on this because children might be watching. So, wow, this is pretty cool. This is what they're doing here. They're sitting back, they're laughing. Forced conversion. All over the world, religion has used forced conversion tactics to bring different religions to different regions of the planet. Mostly Christianity and Islam. The problem with this is the techniques used. Forced conversion is the adoption of different religion or the adoption of irreligion under duress. You know what that means? That means by force, guys and gals. That means by force. Someone who has been forced to convert to a different religion or irreligion may continue covertly to adhere to the beliefs and practices which they originally held, while outwardly behaving as a covert. They call them crypto Jews, crypto Christians, crypto Muslims, and crypto pagans are historical examples. How did these religions get spread around the world? How did they become, on every corner of the planet I've been to, I've seen a Catholic church. I was at the floating cities in Cambodia. Now, the floating city, if you've never been there, it's an amazing place. Floating city. It looks like you're on the ocean. As far as the eye can see, it's just water, and I mean deep water. And there's houses on top of the water, floating houses, floating grocery stores, floating schools. Kids get in buckets and they splash around and play in buckets like they're outside in the front yard playing. Nobody has a car. Everything is all by these little handmade boats with these little tiny one-cylinder motors on them. And what's in the middle of this floating city? A floating Catholic church. For people who believe in Hinduism, Buddhism, there's a monastery off in the distance, floating monastery. But the biggest structure there is a floating Catholic church.